The original formula, which is still basically used today, came from the cola nut and the cocoa leaf. So that the formula that Mr. Pemberton came up with, amongst other things, had the cocoa leaf and the cola nut. And there we have Coca-Cola.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hi and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. My name's Rick Nusky. It's wonderful to be alive in this wonderful world of ours. I hope you're doing well no matter where you are. On today's call, I have with me Larry Jorgensen. How are you, Larry?
I am fine. It's a beautiful day, and it's a pleasure to be talking with you, Rick.
Yes, it's a wonderful treat. Now, you're an author. Now, the topic of your book is all to do with a particular brand. But before we jump into the nuts and bolts of that, and you share this wonderful story about how you've come around to author this book, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are, what you do, and all these other sorts of things.
Well, I am in Louisiana. Kind of the south central part of the state. In fact, I decided for a better signal, I would do this outside, and I'm sitting alongside a very pretty little bayou.
Oh, beautiful.
What do I do besides write a book or two?
Mm-hmm.
My background is journalism, Rick. I brought up at a weekly newspaper, went from there to a daily, have been in radio, television news, did wire service, have done freelance. I guess my world has been the word in one form or another.
Yes, copy is an amazingly powerful thing, isn't it?
It certainly is, and it's the opportunity to meet people and go places that you remember forever.
Yeah, no, and as somebody who's involved with copy, you really do take people on a journey, don't you?
We sure tried to, and this last book is actually a combination of a travel guide and some history.
Well, this is going to be a wonderful treat. You know, it's not only about the process of being an author, which is no mean feat, by the way. It's also a journey about a particular brand, and it's no small brand, might I add. It's probably one of the most most prominent in the world. In fact, you see often on TV people trying to buy memorabilia about this particular topic, and everybody's sitting there thinking, "What are you talking about? Tell us what it is."
Well, you know, for some reason, the memorabilia thing with this particular brand is unbelievable. There are there is a group in Australia that is a collector group,
Yep.
and there are groups all over the country
Mm-hmm.
that, in fact, collect the memorabilia from this brand, and it's been again a treasure to meet some of these collectors and to hear their stories because they are into the product. They know the history.
Well, you know, where we are, we can watch the show American Pickers, and when they come across something like this of this particular brand, which we will reveal shortly, that's a bit of a tongue twister. You know, they pick them up, and you know they're not paying small dollars for these things; they're paying big bucks.
Yes, they are, and there was a bottle from this particular brand we're talking about that just recently sold for just under $150,000
Wow.
at an auction.
That's incredible. Well, look, I think it's time for you to reveal the truth about this book. Tell us what the name of the book is.
The book is called The Coca-Cola Trail, and it's about people and places in the history of Coca-Cola. You know, Rick, there's probably been 200 books written about Atlanta, Georgia, and that's not our book. We have written about all the other places where Coca-Cola history exists and where the brand got started by the individual, you know, entrepreneurs, bottlers who said, this may have some potential, let's do it, you know.
And I think it's a wonderful story from an entrepreneurial mindset, because at the end of the day, the My Future Business audience are, authors, they're entrepreneurs, they're existing business owners, and this is a really good story. What do you know about the Coca-Cola history as far as, its early days?
Are we talking about corporate, Rick? Is that
No, just
what you're
I guess the genesis. Now, if I recall
just
correctly,
to get it? Okay, well, actually, our book starts out with the first time Coca-Cola was bottled, and that's in Vicksburg, Mississippi. And it was not by the Coca-Cola Company as we knew it then. It, in fact, was bottled by a gentleman that had a little soda fountain and candy store in Mississippi. And he thought that his customers liked the soda fountain drink so well that if he could put it in a bottle, he could get it to the people out in the country. Rick, that was 1895
it's
when he did that,
such a long time
and
ago.
and it wasn't until 5 years later when Coca-Cola Corporation said, "Well, okay, if you want to bottle it, go ahead, but we think that's a dumb idea." Well, it was not a dumb idea, as we all know now.
the,
But
the
so
re-
that's how it started, and how did the bottlers individually get involved? And that's a pretty unique story. There were two gentlemen from Tennessee, Chattanooga, Tennessee, that thought, bottling, that's a pretty good idea with Coca-Cola. So they went to the Coca-Cola Corporation to, at that time, they were just making the syrup, that the soda fountains used. And they went to the gentleman who owned it and said, we'd like to bottle it. We'd like the exclusive rights to bottle Coca-Cola in the United States. And he told them, he said, this is a dumb idea. He said, and I'm worried about, will the quality be there? But after them working on him for 2 days, he finally gave in. And he said, I'll tell you what. They were both attorneys, conveniently. He said, you draw up a contract. Let's take a look at it. So they went back to their motel room in Atlanta, and they drew up a contract, took it back to him, and he said, all right, I'm going to sell you the exclusive rights to bottle Coca-Cola throughout the United States except Mississippi, because there's somebody doing it already. And he sold it to them for $1.
oh
And
wow!
he never collected the dollar.
Oh.
Never collected the dollar. And he told them, he said, I don't think this is a good idea, and if it doesn't work, don't you guys come crying back to me about this. So so here you have put yourself in their position, Rick. You now have the rights to bottle Coca-Cola throughout the United States. And you're two not starving, but certainly not prosperous young businessmen.
hmm
And you go back to your hometown and you look at each other and say, kind of like the dog chasing the car. We've caught it. What do we do with it?
yes.
Um, so anyhow, the light went on. They set up a small bottling plant, but the light went on. They said, wait a minute. We have the exclusive rights. Let's sell territories, franchise.
Oh.
And that is how all the independent bottlers came to be. They would buy a territory, 50 miles from their hometown radius, and they would buy it for $1,500, and they'd have the rights to bottle in that area. Well, the added bonus to these two young men who got the franchise rights, if you became a bottler, you of course, had to use Coca-Cola syrup.
hmm
And you had to buy that from Coca-Cola. But these two entrepreneurs who started this all, they would get a commission on every gallon of syrup that was sold to these independent bottlers. So they were making money in selling the territory and thereafter when the syrup was used in the bottling. Pretty ingenious,
Oh,
pretty ingenious.
and it's a wonderful story of entrepreneurship and this idea of franchising, this whole experience. It's an amazing thing. You seem to know a lot about Coca-Cola, obviously. I wonder. I've never actually questioned this, but I do wonder. Where did they come up with the name Coca-Cola?
Well, it's pretty simple. It's from the cola nut. The original formula, which is still basically used today, came from the cola nut and the cocoa leaf. Now, people say, "Oh, you mean cocaine?" No,
No.
the leaf before it was processed into any kind of a happy drug, you know. So that the formula that Mr. Pemberton came up with, amongst other things, had the coca leaf and the cola nut. And there we have Coca-Cola.
I notice here on the bio it talks about a 97-year-old man who worked for Coca-Cola for
Right.
79 years. That is just amazing.
That's right. He worked at for a bottler, and this is the thing we found too, that so many of these bottlers, it is family handed down to family. And this particular gentleman, who is in Fort Smith, Arkansas, started out working as a young teenager for the original family that created the bottling operation, and he continued on as the business was passed from one generation to the next. He can proudly say, "I'm the only person who's worked with every generation that's owned this plant." You know, he's an amazing man, and he is quite a collector. He got interested in collecting and convinced that particular bottling plant that they should have their own little museum. And guess who was put in charge of it? So he got another job, but he's an amazing man. He has the original documents. He's got every Coca-Cola calendar that was ever produced, machines and memorabilia, signs, and you name it, he's got it.
He's got it. Now, in terms of collection, what does your collection look like, Larry?
Well, actually, I don't collect.
Oh, really?
Um, no, I don't. I got into this strictly as they say, as a news dog.
Yep,
I,
yep.
I was going to I was going to do a story for a travel magazine, because fairly nearby there are two Coca-Cola museums that are part of original Coca-Cola bottling plants. And I thought, well, that's an interesting travel story. Well, I did the research and got talking to the families, and I quickly got, I guess you might say, Coca-Cola addicted. And I realized that the story is all over the country. And it was more than a travel feature. It was a book with travel guide and history and old photos and interviews with people. And in fact, it's been so well received, Rick, that I am in the process of doing a sequel right now. And that's about halfway down the chain of production. So there'll be a back on the Coca-Cola Trail book to follow in
Wow,
about a year.
fantastic. And I wonder, um, given that I've seen Coca-Cola branding throughout the world, wherever I've traveled, it's almost omnipresent, isn't it? I wonder, Larry, is the place that you've just mentioned the epicenter that you would visit for Coca-Cola memorabilia, or are there other places that might be in your next book?
Well, there are other places, and what I've tried to do is deal with pieces of history that people may say, well, I wonder about that. I'll give you a good example. In the next book, have you ever noticed, the original Coca-Cola bottles had a slight green tint to them?
Mm-hmm.
And, gee, what caused that? Well, I have a chapter in the book from a little town in Indiana called Green Castle. Has nothing to do with the color, but that's the name of the town. Well, the company that originally got the rights to create the first Coca-Cola bottle, the Root Glass Company, had a quarry, a sand quarry, not too far away in Green Castle, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
So they used sand from that quarry and what to make the bottles. And when they made the bottle, it had this light green tint to it. Well, as it turned out, it was the minerals in that sand that created that green.
Oh.
And Coca-Cola was so pleased with that as the bottling needs expanded and other bottle makers were setting up to make the bottle, Coca-Cola told them, if your sand does not have the minerals to create that light green, add it, because that's going to be our green. And that's how the Coca-Cola bottle was green. And that's the type of thing in the next book. You can go and see where the quarry was, and you can go to nearby town where the glass bottles were made and so forth. But it's an interesting piece of history that rather than walking into a store and buying, an old Coca-Cola sign or something. And there's a lot of that,
That really fills in a gap there. I was wondering about, why was it green, the bottle? So it's amazing. You think to yourself, how have they kept this, I guess, this syrup ingredient recipe, if you like, secret? And, so many companies have tried to knock it off, but just can't do it. How do they do
No, they
this?
can't. I don't know, man. And they've got it, they've got it locked in and evolved in Georgia. They have come out with some, as you probably know, in the marketplace, additional brands and even additional flavors. But any Coca-Cola product that they come out with that has the Coca-Cola logo and is called Coca-Cola. I don't know if you've seen the new orange vanilla
Yes.
Coca-Cola, but that is the first true Coca-Cola flavor to come out in 2 decades, because it utilizes as its base the Coca-Cola syrup. Now they have created some other flavors, and if you notice, they're usually called Coke.
Yes.
The new line of diet drinks in the narrow cans.
Yep.
Those are Coke. So if it's got the Coca-Cola logo and the bright red in the bottling or cans or whatever, that's a true Coca-Cola syrup product. They're coming with a Coca-Cola coffee. It's I understand it's been available in Japan for quite a while. We've just been told that here in the States it'll be introduced by the end of the year, very limited, like 25 markets, and it again will have the Coca-Cola syrup base, and it'll have some sort of a coffee ingredient mixed in with it. Should be interesting.
Isn't it amazing how they can just pivot and diversify their product range just so successfully just from this syrup?
Right, and there, well, you may remember the biggest mistake that one of the biggest mistakes they made was when they came out with the new Coca-Cola.
Oh,
you
yes.
remember that one? And and that was a disaster.
Yeah.
What happened, the story behind that, and maybe you've heard, at that time, Pepsi-Cola was doing what they called a challenge, and a blind challenge, and people would be invited to sample two cola drinks. One would be Pepsi and one would be Coca-Cola. And doggone, Pepsi was winning a lot of these challenges.
Uh-oh.
Well, and that got Coca-Cola to take a look at that, and they created what they thought would be the new product. The answer to that would be the new Coca-Cola. But no one liked it. And there's stories about the Coca-Cola salesman that would be delivering product in the store, and little old ladies would come up to him and accost him with, "Where's my Coca-Cola?"
Give me back the original, thank you.
And they did. They went back. What happened when they did those tests? People would take one drink of each sample. Well, Pepsi is sweeter. So your normal reaction with one drink is to go with the sweeter flavor.
Mm-hmm.
But in the long run, if you're going to drink the product, if you're going to drink a bottle, the Coca-Cola wins out because it has that unique flavor that lasts. It wasn't just sweet. I may sound like a Coca-Cola salesman. I'm not. That's the fact of the matter, you know.
Absolutely.
They had a flavor that people savored. It lasted, and Pepsi didn't have that. They made it sweeter. So that was a big, I guess maybe Coca-Cola made two mistakes. They did that one, and looking way back at the history, to sell the rights for $1, somebody wasn't thinking there either. But anyhow,
If people want to find your book and the products that you're promoting, where are they going to go, Larry?
which product are you talking about now, Rick?
The pepper jelly.
Oh, the pepper jelly. No, that's that was something that we did. When I say we, I have a friend who makes pepper jellies, and I did that as a Christmas thing for people that were buying the book and for friends of mine. I'm afraid that is a limited production. Although I have gotten so much
Oh, I
response
can tell why. I
that
think
we are.
I think it'd be amazing.
Well, we are looking at making that a full-time available product. The one I'll tell you a little trade secret here. The one that was available to the public at that time was made with cola flavor syrup. It was not made with the Coca-Cola syrup
Mm-hmm.
because of the Coca-Cola rights. But there are several places you can buy a cola flavor.
Yeah.
And that's how we created that one. Well, since then, we've been able to acquire and get use of the actual Coca-Cola syrup. And it is available. There's places you can buy it. In fact, if you go on the internet, you can buy it. It's pretty expensive. But we've found a way to acquire it. And we have experimented. When I say we, my jelly making friend has experimented with making it with the real Coca-Cola syrup, and it is wonderful. I've sent samples to several Coca-Cola bottlers, and is this going to be available? So we're looking at it.
When people want to learn more about you and your book, where will they go?
Well, we have a website. It's simply the Coca-Cola Trail.com. And do not hyphenate Coca-Cola. Just spell it out,
Yep.
Coca-Cola Trail.com. The book is available on Amazon as well. So you've got two sources there to get it, either from our website, you can purchase that way, or from Amazon.
Yep.
Or if you want to just go to the and I do get this, people will go to the website, they'll send me a message. They'll want to know something about Coca-Cola or the book, and I enjoy answering messages.
Yep.
That's a lot of fun.
Well, look, no problems at all. Everybody who's listening to the call today, this is an amazing story. I love the story of brand and brand journeys over the years. This one's been going for more than 100 years. This is an amazing brand. Again, I'll be, as is always the case, making URL links back, in this case, to the Coca-ColaTrail.com. Larry, it's been a wonderful treat spending some time with you on the My Future Business show today.
Rick, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.